Hello everyone in Chafin Land, and welcome to our next video. This is going to be on the age of exploration. So an age is a period of time. Let's get started. Make sure you have your guided notes. So again, this is not part of our actual standards. It's part of the themes and enduring understandings of social studies. It's background knowledge that you need to have to understand what we're doing going forward. So this is the part called Age of Exploration and Empire Building, or topic number 4. You are required to know the causes and effects of European exploration and empire building. We will get to empire building later, but we're going to be working on Age of Exploration today. So questions to think about as we go through this video. Why would someone explore? What factors led to exploration? And what advances in technology made exploration possible? One of the reasons that exploration began was because claiming new lands can bring glory and prestige to your country. The large hold of your ship, the cargo area, can bring back gold, jewels, and other valuables from distant lands, but raging waves and storms could destroy your ship and leave you at the mercy of the sea. So, you've heard stories of sea monsters and shipwrecks, and you've heard that the currents off the coast of Western Africa are so harsh that ships are never able to return. But you've also heard that untold riches await those who explore. The large hold of your ship can bring back gold, jewels, and other valuables from distant lands. Would you go? Now, there were 3 motives, 3 reasons for the age of exploration, and they were God, gold, and glory. We call these the 3 G's: God, gold, and glory, and we're going to talk about each one of those. One of the factors, again, that encouraged exploration was the first of the 3 G's, and you can really remember these 3 G's in any order, but we're going to start with this one: God. So some wanted to spread Christianity. They felt that it was their duty to do this. Now, another factor was gold. They were searching for wealth. So the Europeans had already started to trade for spices and other luxury items. They really wanted to bypass the Muslims who dominated the trade routes in Asia. These Muslims, it wasn't that they were bad people, but they were trying to protect the trade routes themselves, and they required Europeans coming through the trade routes to pay taxes. So the Europeans, it cost the Europeans an awful lot to get from Europe to Asia, to get the spices and the silk and the things that they needed or they wanted. They had to pay these middlemen along the way taxes or fees to pass through their areas. So the Europeans really wanted to create routes of their own that would cost them a lot less and would help them to get their supplies, the things that they were trying to trade for, faster. Now, the third factor was glory. So they wanted fame and glory. This meant honor and fame for individuals as well as nations. And it gave some people an opportunity to rise above poverty, to rise above being very poor and being a part of the lower class. And a lot of those people were often recruited to be a part of these voyages, and they were promised riches and fame. Now, there were also other factors that encouraged exploration. There was simple curiosity. The scientific revolution had happened, and they had discovered all kinds of new things, and it made them want to explore a little bit more. There were also new discoveries in tools and technology that gave explorers ways that they could travel faster and more efficiently. So these advances in technology, that was one portion of it. And the advances in technology included the compass. You can see the compass over there. which helped them to know for sure which way was north. And it looks like astrolabe, but it's pronounced astrolab. And you can see here it says align the upper Aladad, and that's what it's pointing to there. So sunlight passes through the upper hole and center the beam of light on the lower hole. And you can see in the drawing there in this sort of center how that worked. The sun came through there, and they could navigate using the sun and stars. Now there was also advances in shipbuilding. The Europeans learned to build ships that rode lower in the water so they could actually go a little faster, believe it or not. And they had larger cargo holds. They had more space to carry more things. Now, a caravel was this type of ship. It was one of the new advances in shipbuilding. So they started to build these. These were smaller than a lot of other ships overall, but they did have this large cargo area. So they had triangular and square sails, but the triangular sails helped them to sail against the wind. They didn't have to depend on the wind to blow them along, so they could sail into the wind. And then the smooth hull handled the high seas really well, so when it got really kind of choppy out there, it was not going to be a problem. And then they had a large center rudder in the back to make quick turns possible. So remember, you may know that on a boat or a ship, the rudder helps to steer. So the first explorers came from Portugal and Spain. Portugal and Spain both are countries that are on this area of land known as the Iberian Peninsula. We're going to learn more about that. Portugal was the first country to launch large-scale voyages of exploration. So they were kind of the leaders in the exploration. Prince Henry the Navigator. He was a prince, a literal prince of Portugal, and he was a patron of exploration. He paid for voyages for other people, and he built a school of navigation, and he taught shipbuilders and sailors and navigators how to get places. But he mostly funded these voyages. So he supported explorers to islands in the Atlantic and down the coast of Africa. But his ultimate goal was to find a route around Africa to Asia. Our next explorer is Bartolomeo Diaz. A lot of times you will see his name written as though his first name was Bartholomew. And that's the, anglicized or the English version of his name. But he was Portuguese, and so it was Bartolomeu Diaz. And in 1488, he was the first European to sail around the southern tip of Africa. You can see that on that map there. So he didn't go all the way around Africa. You can see that red line there, and it went just around that southern tip. And they named that southern tip the Cape of Good Hope, because there was hope for reaching Asia this way. Vasco da Gama was the first European to sail around Africa. He went all the way around, not just around the tip. He went all the way around Africa to India. The Portuguese set up trading posts in India so that they could ship goods back to Europe. Now, Christopher Columbus, we all know a little bit about him. In 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. He sailed west looking for Asia on a trip that was sponsored by or paid for by King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain. He was Italian, but the King and Queen of Spain paid for his voyage. He reached an island in the Caribbean, but he believed he had reached Asia. And so we know, and that's what the little cartoon is down there, that he got there and he said, well, I must be in India, so these are Indians. These people that I've encountered are Indians. and he was wrong. He did make 3 more voyages. Now, Ferdinand Magellan, he set sail in 1519, and he started out with 5 ships and about 250 men among those 5 ships. He wanted to see if he could sail all the way around the world, and they didn't know exactly what that meant. Now, this map is based on a globe, so we can't make a globe completely flat, but he left from Portugal, and he sailed south and west and went down around the southern tip of South America. And you see that he left in 1519. By the time he got around the southern tip of South America, it was 1520. So this took some time. These voyages did not happen quickly. And then he kept sailing across the Pacific Ocean, and then you see he comes back on the other side. And by the time he reached the Philippines, it was 1521. Magellan was killed in the Philippines. What we know is that, but they kept sailing, and by the time they got back to Portugal, it was almost 1523. It took them almost 4 years, but 18 survivors. So it started out with 250 men and 5 ships, and I think 1 ship made it back, and 18 survivors completed the voyage, but it was the first to sail all the way around the world. And that brings us to a vocabulary word: circumnavigate. So to circumnavigate is to go all the way around the world. So navigate is to sail, to find your way when sailing, and circum means you go all the way around. So it's the like circumference, okay, all the way around. Now John Cabot was sailing for England. He was not an Englishman. He was not British. He was actually an Italian. He changed his name to John Cabot. He sailed from England to the Atlantic coast of Canada, and he claimed there an area for England, and he called it Newfoundland. They were not real original. Okay, so today there's still an area in Canada that is called that. We kind of run it all together. You see, it's all one word here. We kind of run it all together, and people now say Newfoundland. Okay, we don't say Newfoundland, but Newfoundland. Now, Jacques Cartier was a Frenchman. You can tell by his name. And the French were searching for a northwest passage to Asia. They figured there had to be a way to go north and west and get to Asia. And so Jacques Cartier, he sailed past Newfoundland or Newfoundland, and you can see the red arrows there. He's coming from England, and he actually went up the eastern coast there of Newfoundland and down and around it. And he ended up going down the St. Lawrence River, and he claimed some land there for France, and he called it New France. Again, we're not very creative. I hope that you know a little bit more about the Age of Exploration, and I want you to remember that you are seen, you are known, you are cared for, and you are loved.